bitch.
What that hoe talking about?
I don't know. Hold on. Yeah. Cash cards. Cash cards.
Bro boy, 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 hey.
Austin's Wild Ride, full trilogy, Austin's Little Secret. Book 1, Chapter 1. Austin is pushed onto the bed, already partly undressed. He's breathing hard. He has fear in his eyes. He looks up at Eric standing over him. Eric looks down at Austin and smiles. He asks Austin if he's ready to take the train down to Ram Ranch. You know there's 18 naked cowboys waiting to rip your ass apart. I know you've never done more than 5 at once before. Austin reaches down to pull his pants back on, but Eric stops him. Austin tries to say no, but Eric shoves his throbbing cock in his mouth to shut him up. Austin gags even though this isn't his first rodeo. Chapter 2. Austin manages to shove Eric back. He can hardly breathe now. Austin says, "You know I can't take it that deep." Eric laughs and tells Austin to turn around. Austin refuses to move and Eric is forced to get out the whip. It takes 4 lashes to the chest before Austin finally listens. He turns around and spreads his ass open as wide as possible, knowing it's going to hurt anyway. Chapter 3. As punishment for not listening, Eric tells Austin that there's no lube this time. Austin tenses up. He's not ready, but it's too late. Eric is already going in. It's too tight. It doesn't go all the way in. He pushes harder and Austin pushes back against him. It finally goes in. Eric struggles to pull out. The friction rips Austin's ass as Eric goes faster. He starts to feel the heat. He can handle it. Just as he's about to break, Eric goes all the way in and fills his ass with his hot sticky cum. Chapter 4. Austin's legs feel weak. He can't stand anymore. He slumps onto the floor, cum dripping out of his ass. Eric stands above him with a disappointed look on his face. "I thought you could handle more than one little ass fucking." Austin can't respond. He's still trying to catch his breath. Eric starts to get angry. "Do you hear me, cockslob?" He smacks Austin's raw, cum-covered ass. It feels like his ass is on fire. He can't help but let out a scream. Eric quickly covers Austin's mouth with his hand. "Are you fucking autistic? Your parents are home. What if they heard you?" They both wait in silence, Austin looking for his plug to stop the cum from leaking out. About 2 minutes pass. Nothing happens. Just as Eric is about to ask Austin if he's ready for round 2, they hear a knock on the door. Chapter 5. Before they have time to react, Will barges in and grabs Eric. He rips his pants off and starts pounding him, rough and tough, until Austin can't take it anymore. He yells out of anger and jealousy as he runs towards Will and grabs his dick and rips it off. With the torn cock in his hand, he runs over and pounds Eric as hard as he can to take out all of his rage on Eric, his precious pink asshole. He's not satisfied until it's pouring out cum and blood. Then he grabs Eric by his throbbing cock, squeezes it and says, "It's all over now." End of Book 1, Austin's Little Secret. Book 2, Chapter 1, *****. 3 days after the incident, *****. Austin pulls up to Eric's house in his G35, blasting music with his 6 subs. He asks his lil man out on a date to the movies. Eric agrees and gets in his sick whip. They turn the bass all the way up and zoom to the theater. They decide to go see Cars 4. They sit in the last row so no one can see them cuddle. Just as the movie is starting, a strange man walks in alone and sits next to Eric. Austin's rock-solid cock immediately becomes flaccid. He noticed that he was looking at Eric, so he unzips his pants, grabs Eric by his hair and shoves his meat into Eric's tiny mouth to show ownership. Austin instantly blows a thick load all over Eric's lips because his dick doesn't reach any further. He then grabs Eric's hand and drags him out of the theater to the G35. Austin rips both their dicks out, turns the bass all the way up, and they both start pounding the exhausts of the G35 while spanking each other's soft baby bottoms. They hear sirens in the distance but don't stop. Soon enough, they see lights flashing behind them. The police officers get out of their cars and yell, "Raise your hands in the air, you sick fucks." They throw them both in handcuffs and shove them in the back of the car. Chapter 2. Austin and Eric have been locked up in the station for a few hours, waiting to hear what's going to happen to them. They were put in a cell with only one other man. They sit quietly for a while before Eric starts to get hard. Austin takes notice seconds after this happens due to the fact that he is looking at his cock 24/7. He tries to reach for his zipper to slide his hand in, but a police officer sees that and rushes into the cell yelling, "Stop that now!" The police officer opens the cell and takes the two young men into the interrogation room. He slams the two on the table and handcuffs them down. He then proceeds to pull down their pants and says, "If y'all are really that horny, then let's get to work." Chapter 3. The officer, who can only be described as a gigantic black male with a 9-incher. He rips off his uniform and slams his badge on the table. "See this? This means that I control you, and if you resist, then I will have no choice but to charge you for resisting arrest." With that being said, the officer takes out his handgun and fingers Austin with it. "Don't worry, the safety is off," the officer said. Austin sits there screaming in agony but feels some pleasure as well. Eric is sitting there with his swelling cock against the cold metal table. "Don't worry, pretty boy, you're next." The officer struggles to pull the handgun out of Austin's ass because it gets caught on his saggy mangina. The officer then proceeds to take a good 10 steps back and aims his cock in Eric's ass and runs straight into his asshole. With one loud yelp, Eric passes out. The officer is pounding the fuck out of Eric, and with every thrust you can hear a slight moan from both Eric and Austin. Austin cries out between each moan, "Eric, stay with me, you have to push through this." However, Eric is too far gone and will just not wait to that. Finally, the officer pulls out and busts a nut all over Austin and tell him, "You're all free to go pack your shit and leave. Take your boyfriend with you too, you cum slut." Chapter 4. Austin finally escapes the jail with his major damage to his ass. Eric is still slumped, but Austin noticed something peculiar. Eric still has a hard cock through all of this. If I don't do anything about this, he might wake up with blue balls. After Austin gets his G35 back, he puts Eric in the back and pulls down his pants. He starts vigorously jacking Eric off in his sleep and turns around and lets him blast a nut all over his ass. Just like the simulation, Austin says as he jumps over the front seat, starts the G35, and drives off into the sunset with the bass blasting.